Mermail Atlantean is one of those decks that a number of individuals view as rather cheap in a sense due to the effect of a certain Atlantean, and now even more so due to its access to a certain toad. But despite this so-called cheapness, in my eyes it has also been one of the more disappointing decks in the last year or so in the competitive environment before the release of Invasion of Vengeance, for its lack of overall accomplishment. Yes, it occasionally nets one or two tops in a major tournament, but when looking at the overall capacity of the deck, it should be doing more. Perhaps this reduced success is simply born from a lack of play, and Mermail Atlanteans are actually doing quite well from a proportional standard relative to the amount of general play they receive. It is an interesting issue, but why do I think this deck should be doing more regardless? Reviewing all of the Mermail and Atlantean cards will take too much time in my opinion, so I will simply focus on those that I choose to run and a couple of interesting ones that I choose not to, or at least side. Starting off with the Mermail side of the coin, I run 3 copies of Abyssmegalo, which almost everyone does, which is one of the key pieces to the deck's OTK capacity. It is always nice to have the ability to dump 2 water monsters from the hand to special summon this card, and commonly net more explosive advantage through the face-up or face-down destruction, depending on the Atlanteans discarded, or even if the situation warrants it, Mermail Revival from the graveyard. 3 copies do not produce any real inefficiency. If advantages produced off of the Megalo summons were not enough, Megalo's searching ability also nets a free plus that will significantly help feed the OTK engine, and if you can't OTK your opponent, can provide an obstacle to your opponent playmaking during their next turn. An additional and critical element to Megalo's OTK capacity is the ability to tribute a water monster for it to receive a second attack, and because it is a water monster, it will activate the effects of a number of monsters in this deck, including Prince. While certainly not as powerful and impactful as Megalo, I do run 3 copies of Abyssteus for its level 7 standing and its innate special summoning ability. The principal role of Teus is to help trigger future plays through its summoning effect and be part of either Gaios XZ plays or expanding XZ plays to bring out those totally awesomes. Similar to Megalo, Teus also has a nice search effect, but as Mermails have hybridized more and more with Atlanteans, its overall usefulness via its versatility has waned over the years. I'm sure some people might make the argument, who cares about versatility when I can use this effect to get 2 Bahamut Sharks and then later 2 totally awesomes on the field in the same turn. Among the remaining Mermails, I run 1 copy of Abysspike as a level 4 water that can trigger Atlanteans when a level 7 is not available, in addition to producing a nice quality search that will add a copy of Gund, Marksman, or my tech into my hand. I also run 2 copies of Abyssgunde for revival purposes. I do not run any copies of Abysslind or Abyssturg, for sadly the focus on OTK along with the meta transition to higher attack point monster and expansion of non-destruction removal options, have heavily limited the usefulness of Abysslind's effect. No Turg due to deck space, and a slight preference towards Pike due to its deck searching over graveyard return. With the release of Totally Awesome, Abyss Mander has regained a significant level of popularity. In the past, Mander was a potentially useful card, giving the deck a little increased versatility to jump between numerous different types of rank plays ranging from 5 to 9. However, with Mr. Toad being one of the top 5 XZ monsters in the game, there is little need for that versatility any longer. However, its level adjustment effect now can be used in combination to summon multiple Bahamut Sharks, leading to the summons of multiple Totally Awesomes. This new combination works with another interesting monster choice in Abyss Osha. Before Totally Awesome came into existence, Abyss Osha was restricted to almost lost potential due to the lack of no Mermail archetype-specific tuner, so you couldn't use her effect to bring out tuners and go into some nice synchro plays. Heck, even if Abyss Koa was a hand trap of sorts, it would have been much better, but without either of these elements, it was typically a bridge too far from a standpoint of consistency to be useful. Now, in combination with Mander, it can be used to produce multiple Bahamut Sharks. So how does this combination work? You special summon Teus using any type of water monster, you search for Osha, you normal summon Osha, use its effect to tribute Teus to summon Mander and some level 3 Mermail from your deck. Then special summon any level 4 water monster, be it Norden via Instant Fusion or Aqua Spirit, which are the 2 most common options. Make your Bahamut Shark with Mander and that level 4. Detach Mander to summon your first Totally Awesome. Use Mander's effect from the graveyard to increase the level of both Osha and that other level 3 Mermail that you special summoned off its effect to level 4. Make a second Shark, then summon your second Totally Awesome. However, despite this combination, I do not run either Osha or Mander in my main deck, because, in my opinion, this deck still wants to go second over going first, and in the first game of a match, there is a much higher probability of going second over going first, because typically your opponent has a prerogative of going first. So if they win the coin or dice toss, they're going to choose to go first. Now you're going second. If you win the dice or coin toss, Mermails still want to go second, as I alluded to, so you choose second. Therefore, Osha and Mander can be side-decked if this combination is desired, so you can add it into your deck in the second or third game because of the mindset your opponent now realizes, oh, you're playing Mermails. Crud, maybe I want to go second and you can go first. And this combination has much more usefulness when going first rather than going second, because your opponent has yet to have a chance to set up their board. Now turning over to the Atlantean side of the coin, not surprisingly, 3 copies of Neptabyss, the Atlantean Prince, is a must in this deck. There really is nothing to say that has not already been said about Prince. The explosive, somewhat ridiculous catalyst for the OTKing and overall plussing machine through both its searching and revival effects. Opening Prince with even only one water monster in hand can instantly put your opponent in danger of losing the duel. It is quality even when going first due to the level of advantage and setup it creates. However, it is somewhat ironic that with all of the attention given to Prince, the principal reason it is such an OTK catalytic force is the existence of Atlantean Dragoons. If Dragoons were banned, the competitive capacity of this deck would suffer significantly, in my opinion. Also, with the emergence of Totally Awesome via Bahamut Shark, Dragoons also serves as an important XZ piece, largely revived from the graveyard by either Prince's effect or an instant fusion-based Norden. Run this card at however many copies the ban list allows. For the remaining Atlanteans, I run 2 copies of Heavy Infantry and 2 copies of Marksman, with an acquisition preference towards Infantry. Face-up targets appear to be the more threatening in this current meta versus face-down threat. For most face-down threats are either chainable or solemns, which limit the overall usefulness of Marksman. For the non-Mermail and non-Atlantean monsters, I run 3 copies of Gameciel, the Sea Turtle Kaiju, for not only is it the best Kaiju interrupter due to its attack power and the ability to seamlessly remove opponent threats, its water attribute and aqua type work beautifully in this deck for synergy purposes. It can even be discarded for summoning or effect activating purposes, be it something like Pike or even Totally Awesome. Not surprisingly, I run 1 allowable copy of Deep Sea Diva as another means of summoning Prince and act as synchro support. However, I do not run Diva's partner in crime, so to speak, in Molenglacia, the Elemental Lord. The reason I don't like Molenglacia is similar to why I don't run Osha or Mander, is that while its effect is just plain stupid, especially relative to the effects of the other Elemental Lord, pulling off the effect is somewhat difficult when not opening Diva, and is frequently less efficient when going second, which is, again, is what this deck should prefer. Overall, there's nothing wrong with running Molenglacia. I just find there are some better options in the main deck for that first game. Siding a single copy, though, is definitely a valid strategy for, again, commonly opponents will look at you and say, you're running Mermails. It might behoove me to go second and let you go first. Well, now that I'm going first, Molenglacia's double discard effect has much more oomph. I also run 3 copies of Graydle Eagle and 2 copies of Graydle Slime Jr. In some respects, I think Graydles receive more grief than they should. Yes, they have their flaws, but Graydles can be rather nasty when teched into the right deck, and this is definitely the right deck, for Eagle is a water monster, so at worst it can simply be dumped for a summon. It is an aqua monster, so it can be used with Totally Awesome's negation effect, and most of the time it will be able to suicide itself to steal an important monster from the opponent. Slime Jr. is a great defensive card due to its Graydle float effect, as well as its nice bonus of being a tuner. Finally, I run 2 copies of Aqua Spirit, solely for rank 4 playmaking, bringing out the Bahamut Shark, the Totally Awesome. For the spells, I run 1 copy of Raigeki, but no Soul Charge, because this deck does want to attack. And while now with Totally Awesome, Soul Charge could have a purpose, it still seems to lack enough synergy for me. 3 copies of Instant Fusion for Norden summoning and rank 4 playmaking. 1 copy of 1-for-1 as an additional means of summoning Prince, and 1 copy of Upstart for deck thinning. To support Megalo's effect, I run 1 copy of Abyss-Scale of the Mizuchi, and Unlike most people, I like running one copy of Abyss-Scale of Cetus. The reason I run Cetus is Mirror Force variants can sometimes crop up, and you'll not always have that marksman available to dump to pop those face downs, or the opponent may set 3 to 5 back rows, so Cetus significantly increases the probability that my board does not get dispatched by a single storming, drowning, or quaking Mirror Force. Finally, thanks to the emergence of ABCs, as well as more powerful board creation, I run 3 copies of Book of Eclipse for stopping my opponent's playmaking, as well as opening up more OTK possibilities during my turn by flipping everything face down. I think the versatility of Book of Eclipse allows it to shine over a card like Swords of Concealing Light, and the OTK effectiveness of this deck heavily mitigates that supposed negative draw association with Eclipse. One missing card that some might note is the lack of Moray of Greed. In my opinion, while Moray does serve the useful purpose of hunting for combination cards, especially Print, and even Tias if the Mander Osha card combination is also run, Moray is also a first turn only type of card in this deck. Basically, Moray feeds the strategy of attempting to win or lose with the deck on the first turn, because the probability of activating Moray after making your first turn initial play with this deck is incredibly small, and it becomes an almost guaranteed dead draw. While I attempt to maintain first turn power for this deck, I don't run the first turn or bust strategy, so Moray does not provide any real benefit to me. For the extra deck, I run 1 copy of Elder Entity Norden, 1 copy of Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree, 1 copy of Graydle Dragon, 1 copy of HTS Psyhemuth. This is again great for removing problem monsters that stop OTK potential. 1 Tatsunoko, 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, 1 Mermail Abyssgaios, 1 number 11 Big Eye, 1 number S39 Utopia the Lightning, 1 number 39 Utopia, 1 number 37 Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Bahamut Shark, because again, I don't run the Osha Mander combination, so there's no need to have 2 Bahamut Shark in my opinion. 2 Totally Awesomes. Note that I do side 1 Coral Dragon, just in case I'm facing a deck that can lay down a lot of cards, so I need to have that extra destruction effect. I usually side him in for HTS Psyhemuth. In the end, I feel Mermail has definitely had the capacity to be a consistent Tier 1 deck before Invasion was released, and obviously definitely have expanded that capacity after Invasion thanks to the existence of Totally Awesome. However, this capacity was not achieved in my opinion because there was too much focus on an OTK or bust mindset. This deck attempts to ensure a strong OTK strategy in addition to expanding its attributes with the inclusion of the Graydle monster, while also improving the defensive capacity that does not entirely rely on Totally Awesome. Well, that's my Mermail deck. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.